Dipti is here. Dipti. I think we should start. Okay. 1 minute. Yeah, let's begin. A very good morning to all. Students, before we start today's session, a few points to be noted. There are still few who want to join. I request you to please mute your microphones and turn off your cameras to avoid disturbance. Also, if you have any questions to ask, you may write down your questions in the chat box and they will be answered at the end of the session. As it is rightly
Okay, miss.
please mute your mics as I have instructed you all to do earlier. As it is rightly said, prevention is better than cure. Today, being World Mosquito Day, we, the Actisans Club, present to you an informative session on the theme Innovative Methods Towards Malaria Elimination 2030 and Other Vector-Borne Diseases. By our esteemed speaker, Dr. Roshan Nazareth. The mosquito is perhaps the only predator in the world history that has managed to thrive throughout the century, causing death and devastations through numerous vector-borne
Miss,
diseases.
your voice is breaking.
Is it the same for all?
No, Vaya, you're fine.
No.
Okay,
No,
okay.
miss, your voice is
Okay,
breaking.
okay. Please mute your mics. Don't talk unnecessary. The mosquito is perhaps the only predator in the world history that has managed to thrive throughout the centuries, causing death and devastations through numerous vector-borne diseases, especially malaria. In fact, in a ranking of the world's deadliest animals, the mosquito was found The mosquito was found to occupy the top position, killing over 70 lakh people each year. On 20th August 1897, Sir Ronald Ross discovered that the Anopheles mosquito was responsible for the transmission of the malaria parasite. And to mark this breakthrough discovery in the fight against malaria, each year we celebrate 20th August as World Mosquito Day. Let me request Ms. Rachel Nazareth to give a brief introduction on our guest speaker. Yeah, Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. I am Rachel Nazareth from Standard 9.
Rachel, your mic is muted. Rachel,
Miss, I cannot hear.
Miss, I cannot hear your voice.
Miss, I cannot hear your voice.
students, please keep quiet.
Ma'am, I cannot hear your voice.
Yeah, okay. We understand.
I feel really privileged to introduce my father, our guest speaker for today, Dr. Roshan Nazareth. Born on 21st February in 1973 in Kandolim, Goa, Dr. Roshan has been in the field of medicine for almost 27 years. He passed from Goa Medical College, Bambolim in 1994 after doing MBBS there and worked as a junior resident in cardiology and psychiatry at GMC. He later joined the Directorate of Health Services as a medical officer in 1997, and since then he has worked hard for over 2 decades as a medical officer in different PHCs and CHCs across Goa like Aldona, Sakali, PM, Porvorim, etc. He also worked as a medical officer before being promoted as the health officer in 2018, probably the youngest health officer in the whole of Goa. During these troubled times, he has got down the COVID positivity rate to 2% during the second wave and brought the number of malaria cases at each of his postings by more than 70%. He has also maintained a record of not allowing and spillover of dengue cases in 2021. Till today, he works hard for the betterment of the people of Kandulam and all the 8 villages under him.
Yeah. Thank you, Rachel. I may now request our esteemed speaker, Dr. Roshan Nazareth, to take over. Doctor, you may take over.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and can you see my screen as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, good morning, students. It's a privilege.
Doctor.
It's a privilege.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, doctor. Good morning,
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, doctor. Good morning,
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We have already reached afternoon, so let's start with the talk. Okay. Yeah. So it's a privilege to be part of the Actisans group today, and I thank Ms. Swena and Ms. Rachel for introducing me and inviting me to give this session on innovative measures towards malaria elimination 2030. This has been the project of the central government. It is happening all over India, and in Goa in a special way, we are inching towards malaria elimination. And today, being World Mosquito Day, it is just apt to talk on this subject to students like you, who we presume are the people who can actually help us in malaria elimination in Goa. Now, let us first go about and see what are vector-borne diseases. A vector is nothing but an arthropod or any living carrier that transports an infectious agent to a susceptible individual. Now, this transmission can be either mechanical, where it is taken and given to the human being, or it be biological, as in the case of malaria, filaria, dengue, chikungunya, etc. The common diseases that are transmitted by vectors are on the screen for you to see. The mosquito causing malaria, filaria, dengue, chikungunya, yellow fever, Zika virus, among the others. Housefly is also another vector that transmits typhoid, diarrhea, gastroenteritis, amoebiasis, poliomyelitis, and trachoma by basically mechanical method. And the cockroach as well can transmit enteric pathogens. Today being World Mosquito Day, let us limit ourselves to the diseases that are transmitted by mosquito and how we can, in our own innovative way, help our state to reach the target, which is called reaching the zero malaria target. That is the theme of today's World Mosquito Day. Now, what is malaria elimination? There are two main things that should happen in malaria elimination to label a state free from malaria. Point number one, there should be zero indigenous cases throughout the country. Now, what do we mean by zero indigenous cases? When you are staying in a locality and we have a first patient who comes in and is detected to be malaria positive, he is called to be an introduced case. Okay, so he's got it from somewhere else and he's brought it to that locality. Now, if from him, if in that locality more cases are detected, then there is known as something what we call as indigenous transmission. So indigenous transmission is nothing but transmission of malaria from one person to the other in a given geographical area, like a wado or a village or maybe a colony. So we are basically trying our best to prevent indigenous transmission, so that moment we get one patient who probably has got it from somewhere outside the state, we treat him, we protect him, we prevent transmission, we have achieved zero indigenous cases. Now, once this is achieved, we have to maintain a malaria-free status in that area for at least 3 years to be called malaria-free. Now, this is only possible if there is an active community participation and a very sound intersectoral coordination to achieve this goal. That is, the whole community, the panchayats, the administration, the government, the people, all together coordinate and work with and under the Directorate of Health Services. It is possible to get our state malaria free. Just a few slides of the work done at PHC Kandoli, where I've been here as the health officer for the last 3 years. And you can see in the last 3 years, when I took up in 2018, there were 544 imported and 63 indigenous. And the next year we brought it down to 157 and 64. And last year it was just 24 and 39. Okay, so we are being able to bring down the number of cases of malaria quite rapidly, as this graph also shows you a month-wise presentation in the last 3 years. As you see in 2018, there was a peak, sorry, in the year, in the month of July, touching 100. In 2019, we were somewhere around 50 in the month of July, and in 20, we were practically all below 15. We do not have even 15 cases per year. This year, every week we are having just 1 or 2 cases. So we are practically not even touching 5 per month in this 2021. And this has been due to the tremendous efforts done by my staff and the collaboration offered by the respective village panchayats in my area. Now, to understand about malaria, first thing we should know where the vectors are concentrated, and this is known as high-risk areas. And you can see the red dots there is the Anopheles stephensi, which is the main mosquito vector. The other ones being Anopheles ulicipacis and Anopheles fluviatilis, the blue and the green, which are the interiors of Goa. So in the coastal region where we all reside, we have a higher concentration of the Anopheles stephensi, the vector that transmits malaria. So where do mosquitoes breed? Common mosquito breeding places are, as you see on the screen, they search for stagnant, clear water. So any stagnant, clear water, whether it's in tires, buckets, furniture covers, flower pots, pet dishes, you name it, and there it is. In many of our places, we find people eating food into some containers and the aluminum container thrown out, we find breeding there. So Anything and everything that is able to collect clean, stagnant water can breed malaria mosquitoes. A few pictures to show you. As we go around, we click these pictures when we find these breeding places. These pictures are basically to make you aware that in case you come across similar containers with water, make sure you destroy them by overturning them instantly. Don't wait that somebody else will do the job. Somebody else, because of your inaction, could land up with malaria, dengue, or other vector-borne diseases. You can see here a worker using the open air to wash his face, water collection, and then you'll end up with breeding in these places. Just to show you a picture of a vase which was actually down, but because of the ridges, there was water collection. Next to that, if you see, there's a rooftop gutter. Many a times, while building, we make a gutter on top, and for some reason, it gets blocked. Clean, stagnant water, a wonderful breeding place for mosquitoes, and that's how all our vector-borne diseases increase. We check the construction sites where water collection takes place as well. Then we have the overhead tanks. You can see here, I do not know if you can make out, here this lid has to be made very tight, and if you can see here the outlet pipe also, there is a scrubber to prevent the entry of mosquitoes so that it cannot lay eggs. Now, valve chambers also are a common sight in many places because there is no covering. Please inform the PWD if you come across such instances. A pond. Now, in a pond, you have breeding. So, we introduce larvivorous fish there. We call them guppy fish in that area. Now, curing sites. I don't know if your students are aware, but when a building is under construction, so that the concrete may be cured and hard, there is water kept on top of it for 7 to 14 days so that the cement and the concrete become very hard and is durable. But in this water collection, if these mosquitoes come and lay eggs, and you have a construction like this, you can count the number of floors. You can imagine the number of mosquitoes that this construction can breed. So it is very important that we take care of such sites. Now, here on the screen, you find 4 types of mosquitoes. Okay. Now, for the lack of time, I won't ask you, but I would like you to guess which would be A, B, C, and D. Okay. I give you about 10 seconds to note down on your paper. And in the next slide, I will show you, and you will know if you are right. What is the name of the mosquito in A, B, C, and D? Because if you see this mosquito, you should be able to know what disease this mosquito will transmit. And here we have the answers. The first mosquito is the Culex mosquito, which transmits filaria and Japanese encephalitis. The Anopheles mosquito is the B1. If you see the difference between the Anopheles and the others, the Anopheles mosquito is the only one who sits with the back up at an angle down. The Aedes, which transmits dengue, chikungunya, Zika, is a tiger mosquito. It has tiger-like straps. And we have the nuisance mosquito coming up from our septic tanks. It's called Armigerus subalbactus. So, moment you find any of these mosquitoes, you should be able to tell what disease this mosquito will transmit and kill this mosquito. Now, the various breeding places for these mosquitoes, so that you also know what are the breeding habitats. The Culex likes dirty waters, rice fields. So, if you come across any dirty water in the gutter or surrounding area, and you find larvae there of these mosquitoes, you know it is Culex. It can transmit filaria and Japanese encephalitis, but never dengue and malaria. So you have to take care of this. Then we have the Anopheles stephensi, which is a very clean mosquito that looks for big water tanks. Okay, if there is a big water tank anywhere around where there's a good, nice place which is stagnant, not moving, then the Anopheles mosquito will lay its eggs. The Aedes species is a domestic and peri-domestic breeder. It searches for small containers like the cap of the bottle. a small kotti. Yeah, we have the coconut shells thrown out here after Amchi Arsara. Okay. Then we have the grinding pot. These things are not used nowadays. Tires. This is where Aedes lays their eggs, and we find the larvae there, and they breed. The nuisance mosquitoes, as I told you, breeds in septic tanks. So wherever there are septic tanks, if the vent pipe is not tied out with the nylon mesh, or if there is a small crack onto the slab of the septic tank, you'll find these mosquitoes coming out, and they make a lot of noise in our ears. The other mosquitoes don't make noise. So if you find a mosquito making noise in our ears, well, it's the nuisance mosquito. It will not transmit anything, but will trouble you and bite you, and you'll have hives following their bite. Now, short review on malaria. What are the symptoms of malaria? The classical symptoms of malaria are high fever, okay, followed chills. You have a lot of chills, shivering, followed by high fever, and the fever will come down with profuse sweating. Okay, this is the classical presentation of malaria. But nowadays we have various other symptoms popping up. So as you see on the screen, anything could be malaria. It is not only that if I have shivering and fever and sweating, it will be malaria. If I have fever every alternate day, it will be malaria. It can be anything now. The presentation is varied. So if you have any of these symptoms, make sure you get tested for malaria at the nearest primary health center or at the sub-center for a malaria slide, and then based on that, take your treatment. So the whole focus of malaria elimination as far as the patient is concerned is early diagnosis and prompt treatment. Do not waste time at home to find out what fever it is without going to get checked up. So moment you get your slide done, if you're positive, you're given your treatment, take your medicines with food, and that's how you are cured of malaria. Now we have different types of malaria. The two types that are prevalent in Goa are Plasmodium vivax malaria and Plasmodium falciparum malaria. I would draw your attention to the three boxes lower down. Treatment 1 is for falciparum malaria, where it's a 3 days treatment and a single dose of pyrimethamine sulfadoxin, okay, along with 1 dose on day 3 of primaquine to prevent reinfection. For Vivax, we have 3 days treatment of chloroquine along with primaquine for 14 days. So if this 14 days treatment is stopped in between because the patient feels better, there is a high chance of the malaria coming up again within 1 month because the parasite hides in the liver. Primaquine is basically given to destroy the parasite stage in the liver. Next disease is dengue. As I said, it is transmitted by Aedes mosquito. This life cycle is a bit different from malaria. The virus transmitted from humans to mosquito after a mosquito bite of an infected dengue patient. The mosquito then replicates in its target organs once it's transmitted to the human being. The white blood cells and lymphatic tissues are involved, and once the whole life cycle is done there is release in blood of the virus. Then we have a second mosquito that comes in and bites this patient. Now this cycle is in the mosquito. In the mosquito midgut, it multiplies and then infects the salivary gland. And then when the mosquito bites another person, the virus is transmitted to the other person. Now in dengue, one should be aware of the whole life cycle, both the extrinsic as well as the intrinsic incubation period. The incubation period is nothing but the time taken from the time the mosquito bites till you get your symptoms. So that's in the human being, and the time from the time the virus enters the mosquito till the mosquito is able to transmit it, that is the intrinsic incubation period. Okay, so from the time of bite of the mosquito till the appearance of the first symptom in dengue, it takes approximately 5 to 6 days. So if you have got dengue fever today, you have been bitten about 5 to 6 days ago. So you have to go back and think, where were you 5 to 6 days ago where the mosquito bit you? And that's how it helps us to go to that area and take measures there so that we are able to prevent the transmission. Okay, so that's very important to know in the human being. So if you are able, once you get fever in dengue, the fever lasts for 6 to 7 days. And during fever, the human person just gets sick, wants to lie on bed. That's not the important point of the whole dengue illness. What follows after the 5 days is more dangerous, which I will show you shortly. So in dengue, you have fever along with either headache, eye pain, muscle joint bone pain, rash, vomiting, or sometimes bleeding as well. The danger signs are severe stomach pain, bleeding, vomiting, blood, drowsiness, which all develops 24 to 48 hours after the fever goes. The moment the fever goes, most of our patients feel they are perfectly fine and they start running about and doing their normal routine. I request anybody who has got dengue, or if you know anybody who gets dengue, please tell them, please observe for at least 3 to 4 days after the fever has left you. This is the very important period. Now, in this period, if you get no symptoms, yes, you know, it was just dengue fever, lasted for 5 days, and that's the end. If not, it could land up in the other type of dengue fever. We call them dengue hemorrhagic syndrome, or the severe form of dengue. So which can land up to even loss of consciousness. So it's very important to understand whether it's plain dengue fever or it is worsening by just observing for 3 to 4 days after the fever has left. And the treatment for dengue is nothing but plenty of fluids. The moment you get fever, just hydrate yourself with 3 to 4 or even 5 liters of water. You can have glucose water, you can have kanji water, anything that is rich with carbohydrates. Do not have anything that is ready-made or aerated. Normal home food, easily digestible, but lot of fluids, and you will be out of dengue within 5 to 6 days. So once, as I told you earlier, it's called the tiger mosquito and lays its eggs in clean, stagnant water. It's only the female mosquitoes in all these diseases that vectors that transmit the vector-borne diseases. Now, why is the female mosquito only transmitting and not the male? The male feeds on plant nectar. It does not require blood for its survival. It's because the mosquito requires blood to lay its eggs. So an Aedes mosquito can lay about 300 eggs in its lifespan of 2 to 3 weeks. So you have the life cycle of the Aedes mosquito. You can see the eggs. After 2 to 3 days, we have the larvae, which are easily identified in the stagnant water. So you should watch for that. Then you have the pupa stage. Following that, we have the adult mosquito. So once the mosquito bites and sucks blood, it is infective after 5 to 6 days. Then it transmits to a human person. He again is infected in 5 to 6 days. And that's how dengue progresses. An important point about dengue that you should understand is dengue mosquito is a day biter. And hence, after every case, you'll find at least 15 to 20 cases coming up in a particular area. And why is this so? It's because when the mosquito bites during daytime, it's the tendency of a human being to hunt away the mosquito. So the mosquito is not fully filled. And hence it bites a number of people and transmits the dengue virus through its saliva. While in malaria, you will not have such a picture. That's because malaria mosquito bites at night when we are resting. It can sit on our body and have its fill. So you will have usually after one case of malaria, a maximum of 1 or 2 cases and not more. So how do we prevent Aedes from breeding? The only way is to remove all the stagnant sources of water, especially the small containers where Aedes prefers to breed. Here are few pictures. If you have in your house, make sure you do away with it. These are small containers kept all over the place, as I showed you. Then we go to chikungunya, which is also transmitted by Aedes. This also is a day biter, similar like dengue. It transmits to many people. But in this, in chikungunya, the mosquito usually bites at sunrise and sunset. So these mosquitoes, if taken care of at sunrise and sunset, you will take care of the transmission of chikungunya. The symptoms of chikungunya are not as severe as dengue. Usually it's a fever of high onset, followed by headache, back pain, joint pains, lasting for about 4 to 7 days, and then it disappears. The other symptoms could be also rash, like measles rash. It could be red eyes, what we call as conjunctival injection. And you could have also what we call as slight photophobia, difficulty in seeing bright light. Is there any effective treatment for chikungunya? No. We have to give only symptomatic treatment. Fluid supplementation is the most important aspect of management. There is no vaccine, but once you get chikungunya, most people have lifelong immunity. What can you do as students to take care of the mosquitoes and vector-borne diseases? Stop, prevent mosquito breeding. That is the mantra on World Mosquito Day today if we are to achieve the target of malaria elimination. Now, to know that, let us see where we can intervene in the whole mosquito cycle. Now, for a mosquito, once it lays eggs, it takes 7 to 10 days for a mosquito to become an adult mosquito. So what do we do here? We clear all the stagnant water around our house once a week. Fix up once a week, every Saturday or every Sunday. Go around your house and your neighborhood if possible, or your colony, and if there is any stagnant water in any way placed around there, please empty it. If it is something that the society or the colony should do, please bring it to their notice. This is one of the most simplest way of taking care of the mosquito eggs so that we do not have adult mosquitoes. Now, if you are unable to do something there, this adult mosquito will bite an infected person, and then it takes about 14 to 21 days for this adult mosquito to become an infective mosquito. And mind you, it is only the female mosquito that is infected, because the female mosquito prefers human blood. So we have 14 to 21 days to kill this adult mosquito around us. So if we have not taken care of the eggs, we can take care of the adult mosquitoes 2 to 3 weeks. Around average time is around 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, if you are able to make sure we kill the mosquitoes, you will not have an infective female mosquito. And that's what we do when we have a case of malaria or dengue around us. We immediately do the fogging and kill the mosquito. So fogging is not to be used as a general measure. It is to be used only to kill the infective female mosquito, or we will end up to get resistance. Now, another important point that you should know in this is that only 10 to 20% live to infect. Imagine if all were infected, we would be practically disaster. So it is only 10 to 15% of those infected female mosquitoes that live to infect. So we can intervene here and we can do away with that mosquito. Now let us assume we have not done that as well. Then it bites the human person. Once it bites the human person, for the person to get symptoms of malaria, it takes another 2 weeks. The moment you have symptoms of malaria, immediately go onto a bed net, get yourself checked. If you're positive, take the treatment, and that will be the end of malaria. There will be no transmission to the surrounding society. So if you see at various stages, we are given an opportunity to prevent malaria elimination, to prevent malaria transmission. If you don't do this, then another mosquito will come and bite this positive patient, and we'll have the cycle going again and again throughout in the locality, and malaria will become endemic. From the picture that I showed you, where we have brought down the cases to practically less than 5 every month. So this is what we request each and every student to do. This information has to be transmitted to your parents, your family members, and the people around you in society, and take care of the mosquito at every stage. You will not have any of these vector-borne diseases done. Now, yeah, continue. Exit. Please do it. Now, towards malaria elimination, what we propose and what I have done in my area is we have formed ward-wise teams under the leadership of the Punch members to regularly visit for mosquito breeding sites. Immediately, when there are fever cases, we are immediately intimated by our Punch members, and we have something known as Village Health Sanitation Committee members who immediately inform us of any fever cases in the surrounding area, and immediately we get them checked up, we put them under the net, we take care that they're not transmitted, and that's how we have no spillover. And this is the first year we have managed that for dengue as well. So that is something what we find as an innovative thing that we have realized. When last year we used to have around 20 to 30 cases every week, we are having not more than 7 to 8 cases of dengue every week and practically no malaria. The second thing we have to insist on is the full treatment of malaria. That is the only vector-borne that has treatment. So full treatment, especially to the labor class, migrant workers, the job is done. Another important aspect of what we do to prevent malaria transmission is to make health cards. All labor working at construction sites cannot enter a construction site without a valid health card. A valid health card means they have to be checked for malaria by taking a slide, and we issue them a card with a photo. This card is valid for 3 months. Every 3 months, this migrant worker has to renew the card by just taking one blood slide. There is no cost involved at the second time. And at the first time, the cost is nothing but a mere ₹5. So we have made it very cheap only because we want to prevent malaria. So if you have any constructions around you or anybody who is in the construction line, your parents, cousins, etc., please inform them. Do not employ any labor without screening for malaria, without them possessing a health card. On a personal level, we have to use personal protective measures, anti-larval fish, and then we come to judicious use of chemicals. This is a cleanliness drive that was done by some schools. Okay, they are checking. It's quite fun when you are checking a lot of containers around you and you see the larvae. I wish that each and every student does this in their locality. These are some pictures where we were searching for malaria cases. If you can see here, the tires. This was in Arpora way back in 2010-11, where there was a big surge of malaria, and they happened to find that these tires were used for that go-karting thing there, and that was the breeding site. Okay, here you can see that they have been checking for malaria in the larvae in the water. These are another few slides to show you how our staff keep emptying containers. We have to use garbage people to containers because the people in the surrounding area are neglecting this. So let it not be the Department of Health, but all of us collaborating together. Now, this is a wonderful picture where our staff is actually emptying the water in the tire, and it is caught on the actual picture. You can see this. So this tire was found full of Aedes mosquito larvae inside, and we had to empty it. Now, can you see this? We have these broken chairs kept outside sometimes, and they are not flat. They retain water.
Doctor, I can't see the screen.
Yes, doctor. Yes,
1 minute.
Doctor, I cannot see the screen.
It's visible. Students, please click on Dr. Roshan Nazareth's icon and just spin it up. It's visible.
Okay, so we see here the bottles kept outside. We have to go and turn the bottles upside down, which is a very simple exercise that the public can do, but we have to employ our staff to do it. We find the flower pots here, okay, and this is how we go around and do actually what people should be doing, but that's required from our side, because if we don't do this and the public don't cooperate, we'll have a surge of vector-borne diseases. Okay, here you can see our staff. This is the construction site where we trained migrant workers to do spraying in curing water. This is a
Doctor, I can't see the screen.
Okay. The anti-larval spray that has been done of a larvicide on curing water. It creates a film on the water so that breeding may not take place. There are some more pictures here where we go around and check, and this is what our staff has to do, which anyone can do. This is one of the construction sites where we have gone and
Doctor,
we
I
have.
can't see your screen.
Yeah, kindly follow the directions given by the moderator. This
Yeah.
is the bed net that was given at one of the construction sites. Moment we find a case, we make sure we give free impregnated bed nets. I will show you the picture a little later, to all workers at construction site. This is given free by the government of Goa. This is a normal blood bed net wherein the mosquitoes come and they sit and they are not able to bite the human person. Okay, you will get this in the market. But we, at our level, we supply impregnated bed nets. These are nets which are dipped in a chemical which retains to the bed net. And this bed net, then if mosquitoes, here you see the bed net where we are given at our primary health center, how it is opened up and the labor are taught how they should be sleeping under it. And these nets, the moment the mosquito comes and sits on them, you will just see in a short while what happens of them. There you are. The mosquito dies. That's the advantage of impregnated bed nets which are given to our labor class. What are the biological methods? We introduce guppy fish. Okay, these are the hatchery where they are reared, and then here you are introducing the fish into the water. So if we have a collection of water at a construction site or a pond where the water cannot be removed for a long period of time, swimming pools, etc., we introduce fish. This fish eat the larvae of the mosquito so that we have no breeding. And it is a wonderful way of doing it in any collections of water. So if you have any collection of water in your surrounding area, you can contact your nearest primary health center, take the larviferous fish and introduce it there. This is indoor residual spraying, which is done in certain cases. We have the anti-larval spraying team here to show you how we go around to spray. Thermal fogging, as I told you, is used only after we find a case of malaria dengue to kill the infected mosquito. It is not recommended for routine use. Please do not use it because it uses diesel as a spray, which is harmful for the human body, especially the lungs, and absolutely dangerous for children. It is only meant for killing the mosquito, and we use outdoor as well as indoor thermal fogging. If it is dengue, it is indoor, so you have to take care of all your belongings, food, etc. For malaria, we do it outdoor. So if you have any fever cases, please report to your concerned village nurse. We call that person multi-purpose health worker, MPHW, or your health officer, who will immediately send his or her team to further investigate the case so that transmission is stopped. Your role is to educate the community about the disease, as I have mentioned to you, its various modes of transmission, availability of treatment, and the adoption of control measures. The most important point is the change in practice of storage water. We have a number of dengue happening in some of our cities, and that's basically because of lack of regular supply of regular potable water. So if you are storing water in drums or any other container, make sure you tie a muslin cloth over it. Let the muslin cloth be tied, and at the neck of the container, the drum, please tie a rope so that there is no chance for mosquito to lay its eggs. You can use your water as number of days as you like, but make sure that the water is stored only if the container can be closed. Now you get drums which have got a screw type of a lid that can be put onto it, and that's all you require to do to make our state malaria free. To spread the information we have given you about vector-borne diseases to all whom you meet. We have leaflets, posters. You can collaborate with your nearest primary health center and help the primary health center staff in distributing literature and going around and giving talks in your own locality, okay, by maintaining COVID appropriate behavior so that we take care of the mosquito. It's a simple, small insect, but then we have just seen the dangers that it can do. So together, we can count malaria out if we work together as one team. Thank you, and God bless each one of you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you,
doctor.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Any
doctor.
questions?
Thank you, doctor.
Follow the
Thank you,
instructions.
doctor.
Please mute your mics. Please mute your mics. Okay, if you have any questions to ask, please write them in the chat box. Don't mute your mics. You will be asked to mute your mics after your question has been posted in the chat box. Any questions? Please type them in the chat box.
Thank you, doctor. No, doctor.
No questions? Students, please stay till the end of the session because we'll be having a photograph at the end of the session. So please don't leave the meet. Okay, since we don't have any questions, is there anyone wanting to ask? You please mute your mics. If there are no questions, unmute your mics. If there are no questions, then we move on. Okay, let it be. I would like to thank our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Roshan Nazareth, worthy teachers, and my dear friends. It's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks speech and acknowledge my sincere gratitude to our esteemed Chief Guest, Dr. Roshan Nazareth. It was indeed proud to have you as our speaker for today's event. You enlightened and created an awareness on elimination of vector-borne diseases. I am sure the students have gained valuable insights, and this will enable them to prevent the spread of vector-borne diseases. Once again, I would like to thank you for accepting our invitation. Last but not the least, I would also like to thank my fellow students for being active participants. If we do, we can deliver the world we all dream of, a world free of malaria. Thank you once again. I kindly request you to please turn on your cameras now. Students, please turn on your cameras for a picture. Mute your mics. I've only asked you to turn on your cameras. Mute your mics. Okay. Please mute your mics, students.
Miss?
Yeah. Tell me, you have a question to ask? Anybody has a question to ask? Shalani, do you have a question? Your mic is unmuted. If you have a question, please ask doctor. Yeah. No questions?
Miss, somebody's mic is on.
Yeah, that's what I've told the person to mute themselves. Okay. Dipti, are you done with the picture? Dipti?
Yeah, Vanya, continue.
Okay, fine. Yeah, then we end today's session. We come to an end to today's session.
Yeah, I thank each one of you for being an active participant in this session, and I hope that each one of you will carry forward the message to your family in the first place and to the society along with you. I thank the Actisans group and especially Ms. Vanya D'Souza for having organized this wonderful session of orientation on this World Mosquito Day. All the best. God bless you in your endeavors.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Bye, Miss.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. Bye, miss.
Thank you, Doctor. Bye. Thank you, Doctor.
Please mute your
Doctor.